Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host, and joining me is Ren Dax, my co-host. Ren, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Super excited! Another Prompt 2 podcast. We're gonna talk about the schedule. We're going live. We'll be taking calls and chatting with people in the chat room.
Yeah. So, Ren and I think it was all of 10 minutes ago, Ren, that we were texting back and forth, and we said, let's go right now. And I kind of came down to the studio here and went ahead and set up the call-in show version of this. So we are broadcasting live right now on Mixler at mixler.com/the Pewtercast. I want to say hi to those who are over in the chat room. Got a couple of people, not surprising. So this is open just for you guys that are listening. We said, hey, you know what? The schedule's just dropped. Let's go on and get on and get on it and talk about it, because our next show isn't for like another 2 weeks. So we wanted to go ahead and do this. Now, this is, I guess, technically, Ren, going to be a bonus content show. And for those of you who are new to the show, bonus content gives us an opportunity for a couple different things. One, it gives us the ability for us as a collective, as Bucks fans, to kind of explore maybe other fandoms that we have, which is pretty cool. It also gives us a chance to respond to news and things that come out and happen real quick that really just aren't going to wait for a main show, or it gives us a chance to talk about something that we couldn't fit into a main show. And so that's really where this is going to go. So, Ren, I think this is going to be a bonus content. It'll be the very first call-in bonus content, if anyone actually calls in, for us to do that. So for anyone who is listening over in the chat room, the number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. You can call in, talk with Ren and I, share your thoughts on the schedule that has come out. And so, Ren, I don't know if anyone's going to call in tonight or not. We did not advertise this. We didn't put this out. It really just, if they follow us on Mixler, which, by the way, guys, you can go to mixler.com/Pewtercast and subscribe to us. And whenever we click go, you'll get an email that says, hey, they're broadcasting live right now. And so that's pretty much, I think, the only way people are going to know if we're broadcasting right now.
Yeah, and I have not a problem with it. I mean, like you said, this is something we put together lickety-split. Like, do you think we should do it? But you think we should talk about the schedule? I think we should talk about the schedule. Do you think we should do it tonight or tomorrow? Well, if we can get it in tonight, possibly. That sounds good. How about we go on right now? And that was literally like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so
that's how the conversation went. And it actually started. I've actually got to go into work for like 2 hours tonight. Now that I got the kids in bed, let's go ahead and do this right now, and then I'll go in. So I'll be up a little bit late tonight, but that's really okay for what we have going on. So, Ren, thanks for making yourself available to anyone. But of course, as we've already said, we're talking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule, and if you're listening to this show, chances are you have already dissected the schedule, you've already looked at it, and if you haven't, hey, it's really okay, because you know what? We're about to do it for you. So the schedule comes out. Now, we've known our preseason games for a while. That's not been any big shocker, but Ren, how do you want to do this? How do you want to break down? You want to why don't we do overall thoughts? Any overall thoughts tonight?
Yeah, we didn't luck into anything this year like we did last year. We had 3 home games in a row. There's a stretch we're on the road 2 games in a row twice, and there's a stretch where we're at home twice. I guess the biggest thing that jumped out when I first looked at the schedule was we don't have a division game till week 8.
Right.
And our last 3 games are against division opponents. So it's going to be a race to the finish. And I'm sure, and I haven't looked, but I'm sure like the Falcons, Panthers, and Saints are kind of the same. Those last 3 weeks, we're all going to be interlocking and playing each other. So it's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching going on those last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, because, as we get down towards that home stretch, especially when division records become a factor, and hopefully the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints are all going to suck this year, and we're just going to run up the record to where we don't have to scoreboard watch, because we'll know where we are, and that being in the playoffs. But, chances are, football being what it is, there will be at least some competition probably there towards the home stretch, and definitely having 3 and I think it's going to be that way for just about every team. We're going to have at least 2 or 3 division games in the last, 4 weeks, which this is what happened to us last year though, right? In the last 4 weeks, we had 3 division games, in that last quarter of the season. So, but yeah, you're right.
We got Atlanta early, which, if we're going to, let's just go ahead and jump into the schedule, which was something that I was hoping we'd get. New offensive and defensive coordinator. We saw last year, Mike Smith was saying, it takes about 4 weeks for the defense to get his scheme. Obviously, it took the Bucs 8 weeks after the second time we played Atlanta. And that's what I was kind of looking for, was trying to catch Atlanta early because they have to learn a new offensive system and defensive system. But we do, after 2 home games in preseason, just a short flight, less than an hour down to Miami. We open up on the road with the Dolphins, who did make the playoffs last year. So what do you think about the Dolphins game?
Yeah, the Dolphins game is an interesting thing. It immediately what jumps out to me is Brent Grimes will be returning to Miami.
Nice.
His former team, and apparently there's still a lot of beef there. And I don't know if there's any beef between Brent Grimes and them, but we definitely know there's some beef between Miko and them down there. So that should be interesting. But we open up on the road, and my biggest thought, and when I look at the schedule and I go down here, of course we know we're going to have 8 away games. But if last year's trend continues, we were pretty good on the road for the most part, if I remember correctly. So the idea that we're going to open up on the road, I'm cool with. Hopefully we're going to continue to be pretty good on the road. And, so I'm fine with it. Going a little further south, I think, in September in Florida, it's going to get hot, but let's do it,
Yeah, it's going to be hot there. It's going to be hot here. And you're right. I think the first half of the season, and I'm totally guessing, but I feel like all our wins were on the road that first part of the season.
Yeah.
Because that's when it came, the whole thing about Dirk Cutter, like no jerseys in the lower bowl. And everyone's like, well, win some freaking home games.
And he said, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and they did. And they were, rattled off 5 in a row. And I think 3 of those were at home. But after that, we're at home, and Mike Glennon comes back to town week 2. What you got in the Bears game?
I think we do with the Bears this year what we did with them last year, and which I think is turn them over and spank them. And, for these guys turning Mike over, that'll be fun to watch. That'll be a whole lot of fun to watch. And, nothing against the Giraffe, but, he's on the other side of the line now, so I can't wait to see Gerald McCoy, drop a big old fat sack on that guy.
Yeah,
and that you could take that multiple ways.
Games,
I meant football sack. That's what I'm talking about. Just to be clear,
make a ball sack joke.
Just this is a PG-13 show. I don't think we've crossed that line yet, but just to be clear, talking about. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, of all the games that we won last year, I think that was the only game that I felt we were controlled start to finish. Like we really manhandled the team. There were a few losses where it happened to us, but most part they were close games. Chargers game, Panthers game, even the Seahawks game. The defense did really well, but they were still in it to that last interception. It was still a game they could have won. Didn't feel like they were going to, but the Chicago game, it just seems like from the start to finish, like you felt like they were in control. Really had no chance. But I think with check down Glennon coming into town, I tweeted this out earlier. Quan Alexander can have like 25 plus tackles this game because Glennon's going to drop back and just keep checking it down to the guy out of the backfield like he did down here, and he's going to rack up a lot of tackles. But the next game I think could be a big sack game for the Buccaneers. Some cool storylines. We're going up north, go to Minnesota, but it's in the Dome. I like they had a really bad offensive line last year. That's why I say it could be a big sack game. This could be where the front 4 and the 7-man rotation really feast and eat. And I have no idea what Bridgewater's timeline's at. I don't know if he's going to be back this year at all, or if he's scheduled to be back, preseason or week 4 or week 8. So have to look into that. But week 3 up we're going up north to Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota, obviously that turns into a road game. So we've got a road game, a home game, and a road game to kick off the season. I'm flying out. I don't know. At this point, I'm kind of looking at times. Because you remember last year we had it seemed like we had a lot of 4:00 games. or especially through the first half of the season. So these are all 3 1:00 games. We're going to be in, I don't know, is Minnesota Central Time, Mountain Time? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and I don't know. This might still be, I don't know how these times work as they go across the country, but
I was shocked when you were on my time and you're in South Carolina. I'm like, no, you're not, because actually in the state of Florida is 2 time zones. Like you get to the tail end of the Panhandle,
that's right.
It changes time zones.
Yeah.
So when you're like, yeah, I'm in your time zone, I'm like, that's impossible. You're in South Carolina,
right.
So yeah, I don't know how they work either.
But but that Bridgewater thing, and if you remember last year, there was a thing about the Vikings made apparently a really dumb trade for a quarterback. I think it was to the Eagles, and they got some old guy. Was it Bradford or someone? Sam Bradford.
Yeah. They traded a first-round pick because they thought they had the pieces around to make a deep push, and they went and got a veteran quarterback and went for it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, aren't they like picking in the top 10 this year?
It backfired. They're, like I said, their offensive line.
Yeah. So I hate to call it. Yeah, I hate to call it a cake game. I'm not going to call any of these games a given one way or the other. But that the Dolphins, they're an up and coming team from what I can tell. Obviously I don't follow other teams really. Some people might have a better grasp on what's going on around the league than I do. I just follow the Bucs, but Miami seems to be an up-and-coming team, so it'll be interesting to see where they are. I think the Bears are still going to be trashed this next year. I don't think they've done anything noteworthy to really improve themselves, and same thing with the Vikings. I just don't see them, coming up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there in Week 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the first true test is coming next week at home. The first of our back-to-back home games during the year, and we got the Giants 4:00. They got a stout defense, spent a lot of money on the defensive line. They went and got their number 2 wide receiver, so they got a really good 1-2 wide receiver. Good quarterback. We're almost mirror images of each other, and I'm glad we got them at home. But this is, I think, going to be the first big test for the Bucs. G-men at home.
Yeah, the Giants. That's Eli Manning, right? You got Odell Beckham Jr. versus Mike Evans. What can you say with those two? So that should be a good one, but it's going to be a home game. And I got to tell you, I think, we're going to open up the season against the Bears at home. And like I said, I think that's going to be I think we're not only going to win that one, but I think we're going to win big in that one. So that's just going to build momentum coming into the New York game. But if I also remember well, New York travels well. New York fans tend to travel pretty well. So that should be interesting to see how the home atmosphere goes during that game. But now what we're talking about here as we get to the end of this, Ren, last year we looked at the season in quarters. We kind of looking at, so here we are looking at the first quarter of the season, Dolphins, Bears, Vikings, and Giants. So let me put it to you. How do you think we finish the quarter? What record do you think we have in the first quarter?
Least case scenario, I could see us 0-4. Next least case scenario, I could see us 4-0. I'm leaning towards 3-1.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised if we're 2-2. But
yeah.
I'm putting like the needle's moving more towards the 3-1 that I really think, and I'm a pretty realistic fan. But if it's 2-2, I wouldn't be shocked either.
Yeah,
any other record, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at 2-2, but I am projecting 3-1, and that I think that one could come at any one of those. I don't think any of these games are a given, but of that quarter, I do think we're going to go 3-1 or better. That is kind of my my expectation. So, Ren, before we go on to the second quarter, just want to throw out to anyone who is joining us over in the chat room, we've got a couple new people. Former Pewtercast guest, Bucks Princess Nikki is in the chat room. So shout out to Nikki. We got Kevin over there. Looks like a couple others. So to everybody who's over there, 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. If you want to call in to the show and talk about the Bucks schedule, give us your thoughts on the first quarter or on game number 5 as we go in. So Ren, take us into game number 5, buddy.
Game 5, the big one, the one we've been talking about since it came out on the schedule. It's going Thursday night. So Buck fans get 2 home games in 4 days. So that's pretty cool. We have the Sunday game, and then it rolls around Thursday night. We got the Patriots coming to town. Interesting fun fact, means absolutely nothing, but Belichick has never won a regular season game in the city of Tampa, no matter which stadium it's been, or which team he's been for. He's never won in this city. He's won in Ray J, but not a regular season game. So there's that. Yeah, what are you gonna say? This is it. If we're flying high at 3-1 or 4-0, this would be the first true measuring stick. The things I like about it is it's a Thursday game and we don't have to travel. So in 4 days, at least we get to stay here. The Patriots have to travel. I haven't really looked at what their game is before that, but I'm sure the NFL schedulers made it like a Sunday 1 o'clock game so they can get the maximum amount of rest and practice time in. And, it's not going to be like a Sunday night game or a Monday night game and come back and play a Thursday night game for sure. So yeah, this will be the litmus test. See where you stand up against, traditionally the best team in the league year in and year out.
Right. And I mean, so we're coming off the Giants game, and 4 days later we've got the Patriots game. Supposedly two tough teams. Those should be two tough matchups, two good ones that I think will really test the mettle of the Bucs. However, as you pointed out, they're both home games. It's not just that the Thursday night is a home game, but it's also that Sunday is a home game. So we've not had to travel for, 10 days up to that point. So that's pretty good. And as you point out, Belichick has never won. I do like the odds on that. That's not to say that they couldn't break it, but he couldn't break that streak on this particular Thursday. But I like the odds, coming in. And I don't know what the Patriots do. Like, I don't know how their attitude is. Like, are they still going to, are other teams still looking at the Bucs going, we'll win that game. No problem. It's just the Bucs.
I don't think the Patriots do that. And I think that's why they don't lose games like that. Patriots don't have a surprise game where they lose to the Jets or a surprise game where they lose to the Browns. It's all about business with those guys. Belichick's going to find something that you do best and take it away, and then he's going to find something that you do really poorly on defense, and he's going to exploit it. And they stick to the game plan, and they make adjustments if they have to. But and then the clock goes 3-0, and you look up, and most of the time they're winning.
Yep. So that'll certainly be something. And as I'm looking at the times of these games. The Giants game from the week before will be a 4 o'clock game. So presumably that's going to be a game where a lot more people will be able to watch that game. So a little, not quite a national televised game yet, but still one that's out there pretty good. But then there's also the Patriots game, which is of course the Thursday night game. It's the only game playing that night, and it's an 8:30 game. So that is a nationally televised game. So two big games, not just on an opponent's level, but also on a national media attention level. People looking at the Bucs, and kicking off the second quarter of the season against the Patriots at home, which should be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and if the Bucs and Giants start out hot, they could move, since the 4 o'clock game, Bucs could move it to their nationally broadcast game if they want to, instead of just a regional broadcast game. But that's neither here nor there. And finally, I call these 3 games, I think, are the 3 hardest in a row. I was talking about Giants, Patriots, and this one where we got to go out west again. Prentice Nicky will probably be at this game. I know Gene from Buck What You Heard will be at that game. We're gonna go visit the Cardinals again. Now, they beat the crap out of us last year, and then their season kind of went in the toilet after that. But it's still the same players. They got a lot of talent, got a great head coach, have a very good quarterback. So, like I said, the Giants, Patriots, and Cardinals, this is the hardest 3 weeks as far as back-to-back games that we're going to face.
Do they really have a good quarterback, though? I mean, really? Like, anymore? Like, is he still a good quarterback, Carson Palmer? I mean, after what we saw last year?
2 years ago, if it wasn't for the Panthers' magical season, Carson Palmer if it was for Cam Newton, Carson Palmer was the MVP of the league, in my opinion. And then I didn't really watch a lot of Cardinals games. I mean, the game that I watched was ours, and he looked pretty damn good in that one. So I know there's a little bit of rumors about the Cardinals, like, really need to start looking at quarterback. And once a quarterback of that age, once they kind of lose it, they just kind of fall off a cliff. There's no really getting it back, or it just happens instantaneously. But
to what you're saying there, Ren, I mean, I do think that those quarterbacks, like, they tend to have flashes. Like, they'll have a game that is like a little reminiscent of their glory days, but it's not sustained. It's not sustained game after game. So yeah, it's a good point you make there.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one. I'm going to say that that's a valid point and it's something to watch for. The first 5 games of the season before we get to play them. But I'm not going to be so bold as to call out Carson Palmer and say that his career's over.
Right. However, there's a lot of returning players on the Buccaneers team this year. We really did not have a huge roster turnover here in this offseason. And so all of these guys are going out there, the vast majority of them anyway, and they remember last year. And I think you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to have a little bit of a chip in their shoulder heading out to Arizona this year.
Yeah, I was shocked about I think we lost. No, we didn't. I was shocked about the amount of pressure we didn't get on Palmer that game. And that's where I'm really looking, because once again, one of the reasons Palmer was so ineffective last year compared to the year before that was the offensive line, and they had some really poor guard play in Phoenix. So yeah, so I'm there with you. I'm once again, I'm expecting the defensive line to step up big and sort of take control of that Cardinals game.
Yeah, and and another thought too. If I remember right, weren't the Cardinals like our second or third game last year? Second game. This year they're our 6th. And the other side of that is by the 4th, 5th, 6th game, that's when you remember last year Mike Smith said, "Hey, it takes about 4, 5, 6 weeks for my defense to really set in." Of course, we noticed that didn't happen until about 8 weeks into the season. But there were other mitigating factors to that as well. But at this point in the season, the team really should be gelling, and they should be beginning to really fire on all cylinders with what they've got going on there. So that Cardinals game should be a real fun one to watch. Again, a 4:00 game. And then we move into week 7 against the Bills, at the Bills, up in Buffalo. What do you think about that one?
That's our first possible cold weather game. We're going to get one this year for sure. It's coming up a little later in the schedule, but this could be the first inclement weather game. Basically, it's Buffalo. You shut down Shady McCoy, you win the game. If you don't, it's going to be close or you lose. That's it. That's the book on Buffalo. I'm not really too worried about the weather. Remember last year when we were going to Kansas City, it's like the ground's going to be frozen and it's going to be 19 degrees. And it didn't look like on TV. I mean, I wasn't there, but it looked like on TV that it bothered the Bucs whatsoever. Aguayo actually had one of his better days kicking, if maybe not his best day kicking. So I'm not really worried about the weather unless, there's, inches of snow on the ground, but I don't think there will be in October. So, anything can happen in the NFL, but I'm chalking that up as a victory.
Yeah, I am too. The Bills are, I don't know, they're just as a team, they're one of those teams that's really a complete mess. And it'll be, aren't they a team with a new head coach this year? Or maybe he's in his second year. Maybe he's in his second year. I don't know, one of those two. Because they had Rex Ryan, right? I mean, that was Rex Ryan's old team.
I think that's where the Carolina, and correct me if I'm wrong in chat if anybody knows, but I think that's where the Carolina defensive coordinator went, Sean McDermott.
I think that's right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep. So, now Sean McDermott's a good coach. Is he ready to be a head coach? Probably. Is he going to be able to go up there and shift things and make a big run in his first year? I don't know. We certainly saw what Dirk was able to do, but Dirk maintained a bit of continuity. So it should be interesting, but you're right. You got to lock down Shady McCoy, by the way. He's a guy I usually get on the fantasy football thing. He's one that I had this past year, the first annual Pewtercast Fantasy Football League.
Who won that, Brent?
I did. I won that. I
really?
like Jameis won that little race. I won the fantasy league.
His 5K race where he beat the invalids, people in wheelchairs, and little kids.
Right.
Actually, it wasn't that bad, but still, it wasn't much competition.
But
Still won, just like you. Not much competition because I wasn't in it last year.
Right.
All right, let's
Get back to the schedule. What do you think? Hey, listen, real quick. Anybody in the chat room, anybody listening, you want to call in, talk live about the Buccaneers schedule? The number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed afterwards, which probably is going to be late on Thursday night or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever you're listening to this, you can still interact with us. Shoot us an email. Let us know your thoughts on the schedule. That's thepewtercast@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at thepewtercast, or leave us a message on Facebook, facebook.com/thepewtercast. Those are all ways you can get in touch with us. But for now, we're going to keep talking about the schedule. And up next, Ren, if I'm looking at the schedule right, we have our very first division game.
Finally, week 8. Finally have our first division game. But before we do that, we'll do a little house cleaning as well. I don't know if people caught it, but last night we jumped on and did about a little 20-minute episode about our new show we're doing, Talking Knocks. We're going to be doing this basically same exact format, live call-in show. Every episode after the Hard Knocks episode appears on HBO. We're thinking about bookending with a post pre and post season show as well. So just be looking for that. And if you want to follow that show separately on Twitter, it's at Talking Knocks. So yes, week 8, finally our first division game. Carolina Panthers coming at home. I don't know what to think of the Panthers this year. I really don't.
Right.
Luke Kuechly's clear to play, but it seems like he doesn't have, maybe not even a season, but I don't think he has 3 years left before next time he gets dinged, he's just going to have to shut it down permanently. I don't know where Cam Newton's head's at.
Right.
They have lots of talent. Their secondary is really suspect, but by the time we meet them, they should be gelling a little better and probably be greatly improved. But
yeah, let's do it. Thanks for calling into the Pewtercast Instant Cast show. Who are we talking with tonight?
Who do you think?
Nikki. How's it going, hon?
Hi.
Hey, Nikki.
Hi.
We are good. I don't know what's going on with our phone line. It sounds a little weird, but we can definitely understand you if you can understand us.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. I can hear you just fine.
Awesome. So Nikki,
and I have a full signal, so I don't know what it would be.
No, it was like this when we were testing it, and honestly, we were just jumping in too fast to be able to tech it out. So we're just going to roll with it.
Right.
So Nikki, you are the winner of one of the very first mini Lombardis.
Yes, where is it?
I was just looking at it on my shelf right now.
See, shelves. Dirt Cutter, Jason Light, it's Mike Smith. You put these things on shelves and you leave them there to be seen and to be shown to camera crews on national TV. Nikki, how's your off season going so far?
You mean school?
Her off season? What?
Well, I mean,
what position does she play, Brent? I missed that.
She plays Bucks fan extraordinaire is what she plays.
It definitely is an off season for me because I've just been so crazy busy with school. But this semester has been the worst semester I've had since I went back to school. So I'm just trying to get through the next couple weeks so I can finally get back into real sports, not studying sports.
Well, there you go. Nikki, what are your thoughts on the schedule that came out today?
I don't know. For me, it's just, this is when I start planning my fall travel. So
your road trips?
Arizona, yeah, my road trips. Every game is a road trip for me. So definitely Arizona is a 100% go because that's like a day trip for me, and it's pretty much free except for the game tickets for me. And I'm looking at Green Bay was my top priority, so I'm kind of actually glad that it's in December because I feel like it's important to have the whole experience in the frozen tundra, and I hope it's even snowing just because I want the experience. And I even hope I end up in the hospital afterwards because I'm sick, just to say that I did it.
You're going to get halfway through the first quarter and realize how much of a bad idea that was.
Oh, I know. Kansas City was cold as shit, and it wasn't even that cold, but it was cold as shit. So I don't know, but I definitely was not as prepared for the coldness in Kansas City than I will be. I don't know why. I didn't think that it was going to be cold in Kansas City, so I wore leggings and it was freezing ass.
Oh my God!
And I had no gloves.
You were like
Yeah.
yoga pants, and it was like 10 degrees. Oh Jesus!
Yeah. I didn't take any gloves or anything, and I left my Bucks beanie at the house. I don't know, somehow I remember trying to get it out to pack it, and it must have stayed on my bed and not in the bag. So I was completely unprepared for the weather in Kansas City, but I made it through. Thank God to the little girl who dropped her pair of gloves somewhere on the concourse, because I have little baby hands and they fit me. And actually there was only one glove, so the whole game I had one glove that I was switching my hands in and out of because I only had one.
That's funny.
That sounds
so
like a half-hour comedy show.
Right. And so while you were keeping your one hand at a time warm, there's some little girl out there getting frostbit, and she's got nubs now that she's running around.
Hey, that's not my fault, okay? She's the one that dropped them.
Not my fault.
Or
I
dropped
asked.
the one.
She was 4.
I picked it up and spun in a circle and said, "Is this anyone's glove?" Like about that loud. Yeah. Finders keepers.
Hey,
anyway,
the glove fits, right? And it fit, so.
The glove fits. Oh,
Wow.
what game besides the ones you're going to or planning to go to? What game on the schedule? Maybe it be the team or maybe the time of year. What are you looking forward to?
I've been looking forward to us facing the Patriots. I think it's good that it's not going to be in December because they have a crazy record in the month of December. I think it's going to be a tough task for us because it's, 4 days after the Giants, and they're both two tough teams historically. So, but I think that this team is getting better. So I think if there's any time we should be facing the Patriots, it's now, right? And it'll be early enough in the season that we can recover from a loss if that's what happens. But I thought the schedule overall looks kind of tough. I don't have it in front of me, so I just think it's kind of tough. But any given Sunday, I don't like predictions, so I'm not one to play that game.
Yeah, well, it's hard because it's come out and said that it's the 14th toughest schedule in the league, but that's just based off last year's records. And if the teams are gonna have the same record as last year, then why, it never works out that way. Like last year, the Dallas game was supposed to be like a reward for our terrible record because Dallas was 4-12.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we played them, it wasn't a reward. So there are going to be games like that where, maybe the Cardinals will be terrible, maybe the Bills will be great, or maybe the Lions later on down the road reverts back to their old ways, and they've only won like 2 games by then.
Maybe the Panthers will be back,
maybe the Bears will be back. Glennon Glennon, that offense clicks, and who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't like to play the prediction game. But just looking at it I think it's probably also that I think every schedule looks hard when I see our schedules every year. Mm-hmm. But I try not to be a pessimist at the same time. But I'm also not an overly I don't want to say an optimist necessarily, but like somebody who's just like, oh, we're going 15-1. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be a little bit more realistic, and it's just, any given Sunday. So I think it's tough, though, from what I could tell. I think we start off a little bit easy, but I know I heard you guys say that Miami is getting better, and they can be sneaky. So it's always the games you think we should win that we don't win. So
Right. And that's one of those things that, Nikki, I try not to make predictions about specific games unless I just have a personal, really strong feeling about it, and then it very much stays in that particular world. But, like you, to me, I think the game I'm most excited about right now is to see that Patriots game, because it goes back to that whole idea, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Let's face it, the Patriots, especially after winning the Super Bowl this last year, are the man. So, that's a good one. However, I will say this, and I said this last year, there is not a game on our schedule, and that includes the Patriots game, that we can't win. I agree. There's not a single one. So we could go in and we could win every single one of these games. And that's not just hey, of course you could win any game. No, we have a legit contender. We are a legit contender for each and every single one of these games. And certainly I do think that there'll be some
game.
game.
I also thought was interesting that they put us, I don't know if it's a Monday night game or I think it's a Monday night game. At the end of the season, it's like week 15 against the Falcons. Is that what I saw?
I don't know the week, but yes, you've got the team and the part
week
of the
4. Yeah, week
schedule
15 is against the Falcons. That's right.
Week 15, right. Well, I thought that was interesting because if you think about it, at that time of the season, it was probably keeping pace in the division, and the Falcons are the ones that won it last year.
Yeah.
It kind of, to me, makes it seem like they put us against each other in case there's a division, like a race for the division at that time.
Sure.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and that's Monday night. That's our Monday night game this year. So 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
4. Yeah. So
well,
very good.
I'm all out of things to say.
Yeah. No, that's great, Nikki. Nikki, thank you so much for calling in. And when you get past this semester in school, let's get you scheduled and get you back on the show. How's that sound?
Definitely. I promise I'll be a little bit more prepared. I feel like I know nothing about sports for being that I study sports in school.
That's how Ren.
I know nothing. Yeah, no, it does. It's like I know nothing about who played in the Final Four or the final game of the NCAA, and I love March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I'm usually way on top of all these things, not just for my team, but for like all of the teams. And this last year has just been like I don't know anything about anything. I don't know anything about sports anymore, and that's a weird thing to say.
Well, I'll tell you who played in the Final Four, not Kentucky, and that's all that matters. Nikki, we're going to let you go. Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, guys.
Thanks, Nikki.
Bye, Nikki.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
I like her. She's fun.
Yeah, I hope she realized she's just keeping my trophy, my mini Lombardi warm for me. Send it down to me next year.
Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, we'll have them. Speaking of Lombardi trophies, did you see that picture of the Patriots over at the White House with the president and 5 Lombardi trophies standing out on that table? I was like, jeez. So
that's a lot.
So, hey, listen, anybody out there listening on Mixlr, the number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. You can also call in and tell us what you're thinking about the schedule. We've got a few new people in the chat room, so welcome to everybody over there. Call in at any time. And Ren, why don't we get back to our discussion? I think we were talking about the Panthers game coming up in Week 8.
Yeah, I just gave, I already spilt my everything I knew, which they're a big mystery to me right now. I don't know where the defense is going. I don't know what's going to happen with Luke Kuechly. I don't know where Cam Newton's going. Like I said, they've got the pieces. They're probably going to end up with Fournette or McCaffrey. So who knows? Like they really need to upgrade their offensive line. They've tried it. Maybe they can find some combination. But yeah, they could do anything.
Yep. And speaking of anything, let's see who we've got on the other line. I'll bet I know who it is. Thanks for calling in to the Pewtercast bonus content / kind of instant cast call in, whatever show this is, talking about the schedule. Who do we got on the line with us?
It's Craig in Vegas. How you guys doing?
Craig in Vegas.
Craig,
welcome. Exactly who I thought it
Craig.
was. Yeah, that's who I thought it was. I saw you pop into the chat room just a few minutes ago. So how's it going, my friend?
I finally got done with work. Good. Can't complain. Happy day with the schedule out and excited. Gonna head down to the Arizona game. Probably head out to Green Bay as well too, and maybe do New Year's Eve down in Tampa as well too.
There you go.
Ah, cool.
Party like a rockstar. Do we have a New Year's Eve game this year? Or New
Yeah.
Year's Day? Yeah, New Year's Eve, Sunday night against the Saints. That's our season closer. Wow. And it's at home.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ooh.
Yeah.
Craig, we might have to get together, man. I think I'm making a point to be in Tampa that particular night. So
there you go.
Yeah, in case you don't know, Brent's moving to Jacksonville.
And by the way, that first game being in Miami, that could be a pseudo home game as well too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're gonna see a lot of red in that stands. I mean, if that much traveled out west and some other games, you're gonna see a lot of red. I mean, look how much red goes to and takes over the Georgia Dome, or now the Mercedes Dome. It's a 4-hour drive from Tampa.
Yeah, and
you're gonna see a lot. You're gonna see a lot of red down there.
And I'll tell you what I just saw go out here in the last 2 weeks was the Buckaholics fan group just got their Florida patches. going out. And they look pretty sweet. And I'm about to. I need to order mine and get it sewn on my jersey because I definitely want one. Now that I am returning to the motherland.
We have a draft party next week in Vegas too.
That's fun. Oh yeah, they got the Nevada patches. I've seen those too. So
hey, why don't you throw out the information for anybody listening that might be around the area and doesn't know you guys exist? Why don't you say where you're going to be at and what's going on?
Sure, we're going to be at Red's downtown on Fremont Street, right there on right down just outside the Fremont Street Experience on East Fremont. I think about 30 or 40 of us have RSVP'd right now. So people coming from Cali, Arizona, New Mexico, some local fans here as well too. But we've got that place locked down on Thursday night. I think we're going to do there Friday. We may kick around another place as well too. There's some guys talking about getting a cabana on Friday as well too. So just go to the Buckaholics Facebook page. You'll see all the event information in there as well too. But there's a lot of stuff going on next week here with the Buckaholics, and also too the tailgate. I think in Arizona could swell to 300 to 400 if that many showed up to San Diego. That's going to be a big one, especially being October. Perfect weather to be outside, and then obviously back in the dome watching the game. And I think that's going to be a redemption game as well too, after what happened last year and taking that game a little light last year for the Bucks.
Brent?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I love the redemption game because that's what we were just talking about just a second ago, Ren, you and I. I'll reiterate, and Craig, I don't know if you were on the line when we were talking about that, but the roster didn't turn over that much from last year to this year. There are a few new faces. There's a handful of people who are gone, but for the most part, it's all the same people. And I've got to believe, and you've got to know, these guys are going out there back to Arizona to the same place where they got a shellacking put on them last year, and they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. So, and it's going to be a little bit later. It's not too late in the season, but it's a little bit later. So, things should be clicking at that point, and I'm really excited about that game. And that game, plus that Patriots game, plus that Giants game, that little chunk of games, I think that's going to be an exciting couple of weeks for us.
I'm going to kind of rain on everyone's parade here because as far as, like you said earlier, Brent, there's not a game I don't think the Bucs cannot win, double negative, but I don't think we just match up well against the Cardinals. Like, that's the game that scares me the most. I can see the same thing happening. We just don't have the DBs to match up with Bruce Arians' deep pass route offense. He killed the safeties. We really haven't upgraded him as of yet. You can make an argument Tandy wasn't on the field, but Wilcox isn't exactly a cover safety. He's more of a tackling safety. So if something doesn't change in the back end, that's the game that I fear the most, because he'll constantly pick at the back end of the defense until he finds holes, and he found a lot last time.
Yeah, but I think but also in the second half of the season, the defense also got better. Not just Tandy, but they actually figured out what they did best, and I think also the D line is going to be a little bit better. I don't think Carson Palmer is going to sit back there as well too. And I also and going back to the schedule, I think the first 4 weeks set up well. I think the Dolphins game could be a pseudo home game. The Bears coming in, a hot weather team. I mean, Glennon is not going to run away from any of that pass rush. And then you got the Giants here in the first week, fourth week. You got two, cold weather teams coming in early in the season. That's a good setup for the Bucs as well too. I think when it comes to the schedule, but also for the Arizona game being after the Pats game. Cross your fingers they maybe sneak and get past the Pats. It's a pseudo bye week. You have 3 extra days to travel out west as well too.
Right.
So they'll have a couple extra days off as well too. To if you win, it's almost like a mini bye week, and to go out west with an extra 3 or 4 days worth of rest, that's not a bad thing. Remember, they are home the week before the Giants game, the week before the New England game. So to travel out west for them, they'll be home for almost 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. We alluded to that earlier, but we didn't really piggyback off it to the travel out west. That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's and I mean, even just looking at the overall season, So what you just mentioned there, and I didn't think about this when we were talking about it earlier, is you're right. There is that extra shift between the Thursday night game against the Pats, and then they get those extra bunch of days. So you do kind of get like a little miniature bye week heading into the Arizona game, and that's between weeks 5 and 6. Our bye week for the season isn't until week 11. So that's a good spacing. Like they're not bunched right up next to each other. And I think, wasn't it last year that those were like, didn't we go into a Thursday game and then we hit our bye week and it
was the other way around.
Was it the other way around?
Week, then 2 weeks later had the Thursday game.
Yeah. So but they were bunched right up close together. These are a little bit spread apart. So that's good for our season. That's good for the health of our team. I like that. I like how that was, I think that's going to play to our advantage having those 2 weeks, kind of spaced where they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I like everything that's going on. The hard knocks thing, the schedule plays out pretty well as well too. I think the back end looks really good when you get down the stretch in November, December. To get off to a 3-1 start, the sky's the limit at that point because I think the schedule gets easier as the season goes on.
Yeah, and hey, speaking of Hard Knocks, Craig, I don't know if you heard or not, but Ren and I are going to be doing a new show called Talking Knocks, which is all about just reviewing the Hard Knocks season featuring the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that show will be a lot like this one, meaning we'll have the phone lines open. So you be sure to call in, listen and call into the show as we're reviewing the Hard Knocks episodes, man.
Definitely will, and I'll put some pictures up from the draft party next week here in Vegas. But I think it's just a great time right now for the Buccaneers. And for any fan that's anti the Hard Knocks thing, listen, this is the best thing for Jameis, for Evans, McCoy, all the guys. And it's also great for us as a fan group to get national attention and to get the brand back out there again. That's been so beat up for the last few years, you say at least 8 to 10 years. The brand is coming back. Mm-hmm. There's a good movement right as well, too, and this is perfect time for Hard Knocks for the Bucs brand everywhere.
Yeah, Ren, you were making a point last night about the Hard Knocks thing, and I saw a few people today talking about this quote-unquote Hard Knocks curse and the idea that Hard Knocks teams don't tend to do well in the season, on the years that they were featured on Hard Knocks. But as you pointed out, that's because those teams tend to be bad teams. And while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers certainly qualify, and we have been a bad team for several years, that's not who we are right now. Like we are different from those teams that didn't do well. So I don't put a whole lot of stock in that curse. I think that this is going to be a great thing for the team, exactly as you said, Craig, for the national attention that this is going to get, bringing people into the fan base, and it's just going to create more fans really for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I love it.
It'll bring more chatter, and it's going to get some of our better players even more on a national stage, so people get to know them as well too. Like the diehards, we all love our guys, but it's going to give the rest of the country a look at it, and all those anti-Jameis people that are around. Listen, I'm a diehard Gator, and I'm 100%, 1,000% behind Jameis. Love him as leader of the team. Well, I think he's going to turn around a lot of people as well too that maybe have been anti him from a distance, and then they get to see him up close and the way he works and the way he leads that team that we all get to see. I think it's so good for him, the team, especially with when Tom Jones sabotaged him with that article and got all that negative attention towards him. I think this is also a perfect timing for that to show to the real fans and show them, listen, Jameis is a really good guy. Maybe he spoke a little bit out of turn, but still, for that was a Bush League article. And so I think it's great for him as well, too, to give him a platform so people can see how well he's doing for the team, this community, and how much he is the face of the franchise now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And just follow up on that last little bit of Hard Knock thing, how good it is going to be for the fans and the players. If the Bucs ran Hard Knocks last year, I believe Quan Alexander would have made the Pro Bowl. Let's not forget that the Pro Bowl also has a fan vote, but no one knows who this guy is. So I think this is going to kind of get a push for Quan making the Pro Bowl. They said on Good Morning America Football or whatever that show is, I always get the name wrong, on NFL Today, that their favorite storylines would be Ali Marpet because he's such a character and he has such a cool story, so that's going to be a push for him to get to the Pro Bowl. So just, piggyback on what you said, Craig, it's nothing but really, if you sit down and think about it, thinking it's going to be a distraction is kind of silly, especially when you look at all the pros that come with it, and it's pushing the brand and the players and the team and the fans forward.
Oh, and also too for the Arizona game, just to remind everybody who's going to go out there, we did it like we did last year in San Francisco. It's going to be a throwback game, so leave the red at home, break out the old orange. We got to stand out in a red crowd. So just like we did in San Francisco, it's going to be one of the throwback games. So if you got your Leroy, your Batman Woods jerseys, all those good stuff, break them out of the closet, get some old school gear, because we're going to go all orange for that one as well too. So we stand out pretty well in the crowd.
Well, there you have it. Craig, thanks so much for calling in. Really kind of last minute here to the bonus content call-in show here talking about the schedule, man. Thanks so much.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks,
Take it
man.
easy, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. I always like when he calls. He's such a good caller.
He really is. I just wish we had the audio quality a little bit better on our gear. We'll get that fixed. Yeah, we'll get that fixed. All right. Anybody out there who still wants to call, 864-729-BUCKS. Ren, we are halfway through our season. I think we can wrap up Panthers. Before we do get on, though, I want to just find out. So that is the second quarter of our season. I think we both kind of agreed 3-1 is about what we're expecting in the first quarter. What are you thinking in the second quarter?
2-2.
Okay.
2-2. I think I'm leaning like I said, 3-1 the first four, and the needle was I could see it 2-2, but I'm really leaning 3-1. The second in New England scares me. Obviously, I told you why the Cardinals scare me. And I have no idea what the Carolina is going to be. I think we're going to win the Buffalo game, and I think we're capable of winning any of the games. Mm-hmm. But, so realistically, I'm going 2-2. So for me, the halfway mark of the season, that puts us at 5-3.
All right. And I am actually going to stick with 3-1. I think that's probably what will wind up there in the second quarter. I don't know. And this is, I guess, the internal optimism that I have. I think we're going to win that Patriots game. I think we're going to continue the streak of Bill Belichick's losses in Tampa during regular season games. And then, the Cardinals game could go either way. That Panthers game really just depends on what Panthers team shows up this year in that bill. So I say 3-1, which puts me at 6-2 at the halfway mark. You're at 5-3. So we'll have to see, but let's move on. So we have in week 9, Ren, our next division game against the Saints. What do you think about that one?
Once again, I don't really know what to expect from the Saints. You always expect high offense, high points. Drew Brees is going to chuck the ball over the field, but you don't know where their defense is. They've gone out and signed some guys, no super high profile players, but they did re-sign fairly. They've got Cam Jordan, I believe, who's still over there. They brought in Manti Te'o. They brought back a corner that they used to have. The back end of their defense is pretty poor. The linebacking core is pretty poor. Te'o has been riddled by injuries, so we really don't know what kind of NFL player he can be. Just when he sort of won the starting job in San Diego, he blew out his Achilles. I think they're going to go heavy defense in the draft, but they do have 2 first-round picks. They're kind of like with the Panthers. I'm kind of expecting, the Saints are going to be the Saints. They're going to finish 8-9, 8-8, 8-9, 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, something like that.
Right.
But they could very easily go 10-6 or 11-5. So I think it's going to be a division, hard-fought game. We usually play well in New Orleans, no matter what team we bring up there. I know we lost last year, but Jameis's first win, I believe, his rookie year was in New Orleans. So I'm going to chalk it down as a win, just because I think right now we're sort of owning the Saints record-wise.
Yeah,
head-to-head.
Yeah. I mean, you bring that up, and I think now's probably a good time to talk about the division. It occurs to me the NFC South could be a phenomenal division. And might possibly be the most difficult division in the NFL this coming year. And what I mean by that is, we've got a Super Bowl team that is in this division. You've got the up and coming Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the Saints, the Saints go out and they turn some stuff around on defense, they, as you said, they easily could be a 10-6, 11-5 team. And if nothing else, they're still a middle of the road team, which means they're going to win several games. Yeah. And the Panthers, and let's just say the Panthers turn it back on this year and something happens. All of a sudden, that's 4 really good teams within the division. And I think the last couple of years with the Saints, and I don't remember exactly what it is year to year, but we split last year with the Saints. So, to me, I look at a game like this, and the idea that we would split the season with the Saints could absolutely happen. And this particular one happens to be at the Saints, at the Dome. I know I said earlier that the Bucs travel well, but man, that's a really loud dome. So, it'll be it'll be interesting to see what happens and see where they are at that particular point of the year. So I'm not going to give a prediction one way or the other on this particular game, but I think we can win it. I have no doubts that we can win it. It's just a matter of what's actually going to happen once we get there.
Yeah, gut feeling it's going to be a very tight division game, like most of them are.
Yeah, I agree. All right, the next week, Ren, what do we got the next week?
We got the Jets at home.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay, so this is a scenario I see in my head. The Jets are on their 3rd starting quarterback by now. The team's in disarray. The fans are at the castle gates with pitchforks and flame, and this whole organization is going to have a massive flip over once again. So, yeah, that's about all I got for the Jets. They're at home. I think the team will smell the blood in the water. They really don't have a lot of aces in places. They got tons of holes in their roster, and the biggest one's behind center.
And when you say, just to clarify, when you say they're at home, it's the Bucs are at home against the Jets. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that, listeners. Yeah. We're at home. The Bucs are at home. So I think this will be the Chicago game of last year. Just where from beginning to end, you don't feel like you're, as a fan, that the other team was never in it, and you had no doubt. Your team was always in control, no matter what the score. And when it ends, you look up, you're up by you're up, you win by 14, 17 points, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'd tell you, I've got 2 things to say about this particular game. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Josh McCown, Austin Swearinger-Jenkins.
If he's even in the league anymore.
But as of right now, I mean, in fact, I saw a picture just today of the phase 1 workouts at the Jets, and it was a picture of Josh McCown and ASJ.
Nice.
So, we get Mike Glennon coming back earlier in the year. These 2 guys, I mean, realistically, we could and very well probably could be going against these guys for this game. So it'll be interesting to see those guys back home in Raymond James Stadium. But like you, I think, the Jets are a dumpster fire organization. They can't figure out their quarterback situation in the offseason. What makes us think they're going to figure it out in the end season? So, I'm going to personally go ahead and chalk that one up to a win. I know I've been non-committal on some of these other ones, but I'm going to leave that one there. And that leads us into the bye week if I'm looking at it right.
That's a win. I'm marking that as a W.
There you go. Yeah.
We've never lost the bye week yet, and I think we keep the streak alive this year.
Right. And here it is. So the bye week comes in week 11. We come back in week 12. If we get any early injuries, this is generally about the time when the team starts kind of reformulating, like from camp. Like if you had any key injuries earlier in the year, this is when those people tend to come back is right after the bye week. So that'll be great for our final push, considering that we have 5. Did I count them right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. 4 division games coming up here still left in the season at this point. So there's the bye week. Who do we got right after the bye week?
We got the Falcons.
The
first time we're playing the Falcons.
Yeah.
Which I find super unfortunate. I might have said this earlier, but they're changing their offensive defensive coordinator. I'd really like to catch them early so they don't have time to gel and figure out what's going on, kind of like a la the Bucs defense last year. But it'll be the first time the Bucs are in the new Mercedes Dome. Another tough game. I'm not sure how that's going to go. I'm just going to call it right now. I think we're going to split with the Falcons again. Mm-hmm. They have playmakers everywhere, arguably the best offense in the league, and they're really going to they went and got Dontari Poe, and I think they're going to defense wise in the draft, they're going to take a lot of picks, a lot of early high picks on defense. So it's going to be a dogfight with the Falcons this year.
Yeah, and the only thing that might save us is historically the Falcons do really well to start, and they tend to fall off towards the end, a la the Super Bowl, a la most other seasons, albeit not last season. Not last season. So, if that does, we are in the latter part of the season when things should be falling off. So that's the only, keep
that's
your
the
chin
silver
up.
lining you're taking out. Watch out, Bucs fans.
Watch out. They tend to do bad there.
November and December.
So, but yeah, so Falcons week 12. All right, who's and that's a 1:00 game. All right, the next week 13 is.
We got the game. This is the one I'm looking forward to the most. Watch the Bucs go up to Green Bay. Chances are there's going to be snow on the ground. The ground's going to be frozen. We got Aaron Rodgers, and I want to see if we get some pressure on that guy. He's a master of floating around in the pocket and getting like 12 to 15 seconds in the pocket to throw the ball.
Right.
But the Packers can't run the ball, and their defense is pretty poor. So we're going to see how it all balances out. But I'm really looking for Aaron Rodgers versus Jameis Winston in that matchup.
Yeah, I've made it no secret, and I've said it several times. Of all the other non-Buccaneer teams in the league, the Packers tend to be the ones I like watching the most. The only thing I can think is just because I used to be in their market, and so that's who I used to watch a lot of. But they're also a good team to watch. So it should be interesting. But we are going to have a secret weapon there in Green Bay. Actually, a couple of secret weapons in Green Bay. Bucks Princess Nikki is going to be there. Craig from Vegas is going to be there. And if they're in the house, it's
with
slam
their laser
dunk.
pointers.
with Nikki's tiara, it could just refract it like a disco ball. Craig just shines it right at that tiara. I don't know. But yeah, it should be a good game. That is also a 1:00 game. It's in December. It's at Green Bay. So that'll be an interesting game to watch for sure. Did we do this? Let's hear 1, 2. No, yeah.
That's 4.
Yeah, that's 4. Okay, so third quarter of the season. That quarter is looking like the Saints, the Jets, the first Falcons game, and the Green Bay Packers. What do you take in as far as our record for the third quarter of the season?
I'm going 3-1 for a total of 8-4.
3-1. All right, now I'm gonna slide back on you a little bit, and I'm gonna go 2-2 on this particular quarter. Just because we've got the Saints, we've got the Falcons in there, and then that Green Bay in December, snow on the ground. It'll be interesting to see. The Bucs don't tend to do well when there's snow on the ground, so I'm going to go 2-2 on this, because I think we will split certainly with the Falcons. We could split again with the Saints, but we definitely, I think we've got the Jets game. I don't want to say in the bag, but we should have that. So I'm going to say 2-2, which brings me to 8-4, I think, on the season, if my math is right.
Yep. Same as me.
All
We're
right.
both 8-4.
8-4, so we've tied it up. All right, 8-4 on the season with 4 games left to go. The playoffs are in sight, but they are not locked up yet at this particular point. And we've got the Lions come to town. My buddy JD Duran from the In Session Film Podcast, who lives in Gainesville, he's a big Lions fan, so he and I are going to be at this game together. So shout out to JD. He does not listen to this show. He has no clue. I'm talking to him right now. But what are you thinking about the Lions coming to town in December?
The Lions are an interesting team. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, but all their games seem like they had to come from behind, like in a 2-minute drive. Like Matthew Stafford drove them down like week after week after week, and just there was a field goal, time ran out, touchdown with 5 seconds left, and it just seemed like that's the way it went. And I think when you have seasons like that, it tends to start. Karma flips it the other way, and I think that they come back down to earth. And I like our chances in this one. So not really sure what to expect from Detroit. I think they're just kind of like a middle-of-the-road team, and I think this is a big game where the Bucs take their first step into learning how to win the late games of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it sets up real nice for them. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for in that game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something that the Bucks will definitely be looking at. The Lions were they the team that took our spot in the playoffs? I believe they were. Like the way the thing shook out, it was either us or the Lions when it came down to it, and it wound up being the Lions, if I remember right.
Might have been Washington, but
Might have been Washington.
I can't
I don't
remember
know
either. So I'm going to go with Lions.
But they were all real close. Like that Washington's
Yes, for
Lions,
sure.
us, like Green Bay, I think actually was in there a little bit. Like it was all pretty close as to how that went. But so certainly we're going to be looking at that. But as you say, this is where we talk about finishing. You got to finish the season. You got to finish it well. And at this point, I think the Bucks are either going to be on fire or they're going to be kind of bouncing around. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that one out. All right, next game. That's a 1:00 game Sunday. Next game is the Falcons coming to town for their second game, for the second division game. This is a Monday night game for us, so pretty big national attention. Super Bowl losers come to town for the new Super Bowl winners. No, I'm not calling that right now. But what do you think, Falcons coming home?
You talked about earlier how the roster had flipped over a lot, and the Bucks remember that Cardinals game. I'm going to use that same logic for the Thursday night game we had at home against them with the color rush uniforms, and that was the last game our defense really gave up anything significant. So I'm using that, like I said, that logic, and I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, and I'm thinking the Bucks are going to really be concentrating, not publicly, but are really going to try to take it to the Falcons on this one.
Yeah, I fully agree, and yeah, that'll be that whole Dirk Cutter speak softly, carry a big MF and stick kind of a week, I think. Like we're just going to go out there and prove that we are who we are. Because again, and it goes back to that: if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And the Falcons were the man in our division last year. So, and as you say, we've got some scores to settle, recent scores still to settle, multiple scores to settle in this coming season with this schedule. So, that's certainly one of them. All right, we are closing out the season with all division games. The next one is going to be the second game against the Panthers, and we are in Charlotte for that particular game. What are you feeling about that late in the season?
Yeah, we're right in the middle of the 3-game ending the season on 3 division opponents in a row. We're at Charlotte. Once again, who knows where Carolina's going to be. I think all teams right now are going to be fighting for the division and wild card spots these last 3 weeks. We're all going to be playing each other, and the season can turn on one play. Once again, I have no idea what to expect from Carolina this year, but like I've kind of said once or twice before, this is going to be playoff type atmosphere. This could be a winner go home for one of the 2 teams with only 2 weeks left in this season. So once again, hard nose rivalry. I expect this one to get chippy. Cam's going to cry a lot, and James is probably going to lose control and get a personal foul because he's going to do something, like he does every once in a while. He's done it. He did it against the Rams his first year, then against Cowboys his second year. This is the game I'm picking for him to get another 15-yard penalty for being too physical with people.
Yeah. Yeah, and you like seeing your guys physical, but don't be stupid about it either. As you even say that, these being the division rivalry games, even if one team is pretty much out of it, you're not laying down and just kind of letting things happen towards the end of the season when you're ending on 3 division rival games. Like you're just playing spoiler, even if you're out of it because it's your own division guys, you're just trying to spoil their whole thing. So, yeah, it could get real chippy, as you say. It'll be interesting to watch and see how that one unfolds there against the Panthers at the Panthers on Christmas Eve, as it were, that I'm looking at right now at 1:00. So, So we got a Monday night game. We've got a New Year's Eve game and then a New Year's Eve game. Wow. Okay, so that's what the end of the year looks like for the Bucks, and we are ending the year at home. The Saints are coming into Ray J at 1:00 on New Year's Eve. And Ren, is it kind of safe to assume sort of the same thing we've been saying for the last two is, it's going to be chippy. It's going to be scrappy. People are going to be, we're going to be fighting for division or for wild card spots. Certainly at this point, is it possible for three teams from the same division to be in the playoffs? For one team to win and then two, for two teams to get both wild card spots. So
back when the Bucks were in the NFC North, that happened a couple years in a row, where the Vikings would win and then Detroit and Green Bay would get in as wild cards. None of them really stuck around,
right,
to make anything of it. But yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that could be a lot of what we're looking at. So that's going to be the regular season. Anyway, I can't say that's the end of the season because hopefully it won't be the end of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers season. We'll have about 4 or 5 more games after that one. So 4 or 5, how's that work? Maybe 3.
Depends.
Yeah,
depends if you're wild card or division leader. Yeah, just to finish up my thoughts on that Saint game, I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be a game for the Buccaneers. If they win, they'll get a bye week. If they lose, then they're going to have to play the next week. So I think that's what's going to be on the line for the Bucs during the Saints game.
Well, there you have it. Yeah. So that's the season. So now that's the end of the fourth quarter. Currently, we are both 8-4 on the season. I went 3-1, 3-1, 2-2, and you went I think 3-1, 2-2, 3-1. How you feeling about this last quarter of the season?
I went 3-1 again.
Wow. Okay.
Well, it's it's like wow, but if you look at it, it's not, it's.
I say wow, but honestly, I'm right there with you. I really am. I'm right there. I'm looking at it and go, I think we very easily could win the Lions game, and I think we could I don't want to say easily. That's not right. I think it's very likely we could wind up winning that Lions game, and it wouldn't be unheard of that we win 2 out of the last 3, all being division games, possibly even winning all 4 of them, which would be amazing. Yeah.
3 of the 4 games are at home.
Yeah.
They're going to mean a lot more. If the Bucs are the team we want them to be, they have to go on this winning streak at the end. You have to close the door.
Right.
So that's why I'm betting on it. And then you add them all up. It's not like, you never gave them a losing quarter. But if you add them all together, I believe our records are the same. It's 11-5. And teams go 11-5 all the time. So it's not like Nikki said earlier, we're not picking them to go 13-3 or 14-2. 11-5 is a very acceptable and a nice, comfortable playoff record.
I was going to say, and at 11-5, you're generally pretty much getting into the playoffs.
Oh, you will get in the playoffs, without a doubt.
Yeah. So, so that's I think without making a full-on prediction, Ren, you and I are saying 11-5. I think we're in agreement on that. Maybe a little bit of disagreement on how we might get there, but we'll see. We'll certainly see as the season shakes out what that'll look like. So 11-5 on the season. Definitely making the playoffs is what we're calling for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ren, how do you feel about that as a season?
Well, I'd love for it to happen. Obviously, this is all caveated by, no major injuries. Fans are looking at it as we are, that the bye week is a good spot. But last year, the bye week ended up, when you first saw it, you're like, oh, week 5, that's terrible. But it ended up being a great spot for the Bucs because we had no defensive line. McCoy was out. Air was out. We'd already lost Jock Smith for the season. McDonald was banged up. He was out. So that bye week came. Doug was out. Doug Martin was out. It came at a really good time for us. So you look at it now and you think, I like the mini bye and then the bye week being late. It all depends where on the injuries break. And that's my caveat to this record. Sure. No major injuries. Obviously not Jameis going down. And I'd also like to say this is my pre-draft prediction.
Fair enough.
Not only for us, but all these other teams, there might be, who knows, especially the Saints with 2 first-round draft picks, they might be able to fill some holes quick.
Right.
And then all about Bridgewater with the Vikings, which those are 2 those are two games that I counted as wins for the Bucks, but I really might have to look at them, but really reevaluate them going into the draft, as well as the Dolphins game. I really know much about them. So anyway, yeah, I don't feel like I'm being a homer, and I don't feel like I'm being a pessimist. I feel like I could defend my 11-5 record to anybody who asked.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I tend to be the optimist. I tend to look forward to stuff, but I think that's I think 11-5 is a very realistic, maybe even say conservative number. And I don't know, it feels right to me. So 11-5 is what we're saying here at the Pewtercast, and we'll definitely see how that shakes out. With that, Ren, I think that's going to do it for this bonus content episode. I want to say thanks to Nikki and Craig and for calling in, and to everybody else who's in the chat room over at Mixler. Thanks for jumping in. This really very last minute, very impromptu show that we were able to get together and talk about the season coming up here, Ren.
Yeah, I'm shocked we got any calls at all. I mean, that's really a testament to Buccaneers fans and to some of our listeners. I would call Craig and Nikki more Buccaneers fans than really our listeners. I think they would listen to anything they could get their hands on. So I don't want to group them in like, hey, they're hardcore Pewtercast listeners, but they are. But it's it's just really nice to get this out there. We got some phone calls and it was cool, and we were kind of chomping at the bit because bits and pieces of the schedule were coming out beforehand, and then 8 o'clock became official. And I was watching the NFL Network, and I watched it for 15, 20 minutes, and they never mentioned the Buccaneers once. And I was just like, okay, that's it. So I'm glad you shot me, a text. I was like, do you think we should do a show? I'm like, God damn right we're doing a show, because they're not talking about anything. So, yeah, so we did it, and it's out, and I hope you like it and listen to it. And, always, like, I'm sure you're going to give out all the Twitter and email things again, but if you got thoughts, feelings on it, reach out, talk to us. I am at Rendext on Twitter, REN_DAXT.
Yeah, and you can find me at Brent Allen Live, or you can actually hit up the show at the Pewtercast on Twitter. Hit up at Talking Knocks. That's going to be our new show that we have coming up, talking about the Hard Knocks show. You can email us if you want to give us longer thoughts on the schedule, thepewtercast@gmail.com, or find us on facebook.com/thepewtercast. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us for this show. Ren, you and I have been on the mic every single day this week. I don't know if you realize it or not, but we have Monday, rolled into Tuesday, and then we did yesterday, and now we've got today. So let's take a little bit of a break, and we'll certainly be back. But the schedule is out, fans. Get excited. The season's upon our doorstep. And until next time, guys, as we always say, go Bucks.